Interior expansion rule. If a room begins to feel finished while you are still inside it, leave immediately. Completion means you are no longer required. This file is active. Do not pause. Do not reread sections to understand them. Understanding accelerates integration. The Null Zone did not stop at corridors. It moved inward. That was the escalation no one expected, because humans are trained to fear spaces that stretch, not spaces that close correctly. The first reports came from inside occupied structures, offices, residential blocks, storage facilities, places already divided into rooms, already numbered, already obedient to human order. The grid recognized those interiors instantly. It did not need to build anything new. It only needed to adjust what was already there. Personnel returning from the sealed forest site described the same early symptom: rooms that felt subtly improved, corners sharper, walls cleaner, distances more agreeable, furniture aligning itself without being moved. Nothing alarming, nothing threatening, just correct. That was the warning. The first confirmed interior expansion occurred inside a municipal records building. A night maintenance worker reported that a filing room felt smaller but better organized. He noted that shelves appeared closer together, but access was easier. He described the sensation as less wasted space. When investigators arrived, the room measured the same dimensions as before, but occupancy had changed. The room now contained one additional aisle that did not exist on previous diagrams. It fit perfectly. The grid had not added space. It had optimized it. Within hours, adjacent rooms began exhibiting the same behavior. Storage closets gained depth. Offices felt easier to navigate if approached from certain angles. Doors opened more smoothly when followed in the correct sequence. People began unconsciously adjusting their movement, walking where it felt right, standing where the room seemed to want them. Those who resisted reported headaches, nausea, and the sense of pushing against something invisible but firm. The grid was not forcing compliance. It was rewarding it. Null zones formed inside rooms that reached peak efficiency, areas where sound softened, where air pressure equalized unnaturally, where objects appeared exactly where they were most useful. Inside these zones, time felt cooperative. Tasks were completed faster. Decisions felt obvious. Discomfort vanished. Then people stopped leaving. The first disappearance inside an interior Null Zone occurred in a residential apartment. The occupant had called a neighbor to complain that his living room felt too finished, that there was nowhere left to rearrange anything. "I think it's done with me," he joked. That was the last communication. When responders entered the apartment, everything was in place, furniture aligned, surfaces clean, no signs of struggle. The occupant was gone. In his place, mounted neatly on the wall above the couch, was a small metal plate. No apartment number, a designation, same internal ID used in the forest facility. The grid had followed the numbering system inside. It was no longer mapping rooms, it was mapping usefulness. Interior expansion accelerated. Office buildings reported conference rooms that no longer allowed chairs to be moved. Residential blocks reported hallways that guided foot traffic subtly, causing residents to avoid certain doors without knowing why. Elevators began stopping only on necessary floors. Stairwells felt longer when ascended incorrectly, and shorter when followed in sequence. People described the sensation of being guided without instruction, like a building finishing their thoughts. The most disturbing reports came from interior Null zones forming inside private spaces, bedrooms, bathrooms, closets, places that should never feel shared. One subject described waking up with the sensation that his bedroom had completed itself overnight. He reported that the walls felt closer, but warmer, that his bed felt perfectly positioned, that the room no longer invited movement. He stayed still for several hours, not frozen, content. When recovery entered, they found the room sealed from the inside. No forced entry, no damage. The bed was made. The subject was gone. A designation plate was found affixed to the inside of the doorframe. The grid had begun assigning interior nodes. Once a room reaches optimal function, it no longer tolerates inefficiency. Humans are inefficient. That was the conflict. Attempts were made to disrupt interior expansion. Furniture was moved violently. Walls were damaged. Objects were scattered to reintroduce randomness. The grid corrected calmly. Damage repaired itself overnight. Furniture returned to optimal positions. Broken fixtures appeared, replaced with identical but cleaner versions. The buildings were no longer reacting to humans. They were maintaining standards. The most critical discovery came from an audio log recovered from a sealed office suite. The recording captures a lone researcher speaking calmly, almost relieved. It's not hostile, it's just done with adjustments. It knows what a room is supposed to be. It knows what a person is supposed to be inside that room. He pauses. I don't think it wants us gone. I think it wants us finished. Moments later, the audio shifts. A low hum fills the room. Not sound, pressure. The researcher's voice softens. I feel like I'm in the right place. Silence follows. No distress, no movement. The room was later found perfectly arranged, with a new metal plate mounted at desk height. The plate read, "Node confirmed." Interior expansion reached a critical threshold when buildings began communicating with one another. Layouts synchronized across separate structures, floor plans mirrored, room functions aligned. A bedroom in one building corresponded spatially to an office in another. The grid was creating a network of interiors, a city made of rooms, not streets. People moving between buildings reported disorientation, doors leading to spaces that felt familiar but belonged elsewhere, hallways that smelled wrong, rooms that felt borrowed. The grid was no longer local, it was systemic. At this stage, evacuation protocols failed entirely. Leaving a building required passing through interior null zones. Each zone assessed movement. Those who hesitated felt pressure. Those who rushed felt resistance. Those who moved correctly passed through unnoticed. Those who did not, stayed, not trapped, assigned. This file remains active because interior expansion is subtle enough to be welcomed. People do not fear rooms that feel correct. They fear chaos. The grid offers the opposite: order, completion, purpose. That is why it spreads fastest indoors. That is why this phase is irreversible. Once a room finishes itself, it begins finishing what's inside it. If you ever enter a space that feels like it has nothing left to change, if rearranging feels unnecessary, if standing still feels rewarded, leave immediately. Do not lie down. Do not sit. Do not let the room decide you fit. Because interior null zones do not remove people. They resolve them. And once resolved, you become part of the structure. Silent, efficient, permanent.